Chapter 4 of Job begins the 3 cycles of dialogue, which will carry on to the end of chapter 31. The order in the 3 cycles of dialogue is this: Eliphaz speaks and Job responds. Bildad speaks next and Job responds again. Zophar speaks last, to whom Job responds as well. The main points Job's friends try to make in these cycles are actually quite similar, which is basically the cause and effect theory applied to Job's life. God's righteousness is also a focus in their discussions. However, as the cycles reveal and unfold, the dialogue takes on a more heated and subjective tone.
Should not your piety be your confidence, and your blameless ways your hope? Consider now, who being innocent has ever perished? Where were the upright ever destroyed? As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it.
Let's begin with the first cycle, which is from chapter 4 to 14. By asking who that was innocent ever perished, Eliphaz actually implies that Job has sinned greatly and is on the path to destruction. Eliphaz continues to make his case. Those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. Job chapter 4, verse 8, his conclusion is that people, unfortunately, reap what they sow.
At the breath of God, they perish. At the blast of his anger, they are no more. The lion may roar and growl, yet the teeth of the great lion are broken. The lion will perish for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered.
In other words, Eliphaz says that the breath of God is like a fierce lion that will consume the wicked. He insists that Job is guilty. Job faces disasters as a result of God's wrath.
If only my anguish could be weighed, and all my misery placed upon a scale, it would surely outweigh the sands of the sea.
To Job, God is like a mighty warrior, crushing him with a trial that weighs more than sand on the seashore.
The arrows of the Almighty are in me. My spirit drinks of their poison. God's terror marshals against me.
This analogy captures Job's feelings of being severely wounded by God.
Does God pervert justice? Does the Almighty pervert what is right? When your children sinned against him, he gave them over to the penalty of their sin. But if you will seek God earnestly and plead with the Almighty, if you are pure and upright, even now he will rouse himself on your behalf and restore you to your prosperous state.
Offering a rigid perspective on Job's situation based on his sense of God's justice, Bildad is the next one to suggest that Job suffers as a result of sin. Either his children or Job have sinned. In Job 8:11, Bildad tries to explain his theory with an analogy.
Papyrus grow tall where there is no marsh. Can reeds thrive without water? While still growing and uncut, they wither more quickly than grass. Such is the destiny of all who forget God. So perishes the hope of the godless.
In this cause and effect relationship, he says that if there is no marsh, papyrus would not be able to grow. To Bildad, Job's condition is just like the illustration. If Job had not sinned, he would not be suffering. Like Eliphaz, Bildad uses examples from nature to clarify Job's predicament.
Indeed, I know that is true. But how can mere mortals prove their innocence before God? Though they wish to dispute with him, they could not answer him, not one time out of 1,000.
God and man cannot be more different. Humans fall short of God's glory and perfection, and that is a fact.
He alone stretches out the heavens and treads the waves of the sea. He is the maker of the bear and the Orion, the Pleiades, and the constellation of the south. He performs wonders that cannot be fathomed, and miracles that cannot be counted.
In fact, Job acknowledges that God is the creator of all things, who cannot be hindered or questioned by anyone. Later in verse 17, Job believes that Almighty God is his tormentor and archenemy.
He would crush me with the storm and multiply my wounds without reason. He would not let me catch my breath. It overwhelms me with misery.
From this honest confession, we see that Job is completely worn out and very confused about his situation. He thinks that God has treated him unjustly and without due cause. Next, let's look at chapter 11, where Zophar begins talking to Job.
Are all those words to go as an answer? Is this talker to be vindicated? Oh, how I wish that God would speak, that he would open his lips against you and disclose to you the secret of wisdom. For the wisdom has two sides. Know this, God has even forgotten some of your sin.
Zophar gets more aggressive in his words than the previous two friends did. He admits his desire for God to speak and condemn Job right then and there. Zophar unapologetically tells Job to pray diligently to mighty God to get rid of all the troublesome evils in his heart. Zophar thinks this is the only way Job can lift up his face to God without any guilt. In addition, Zophar advises our Job to wash his hands from unrighteousness. Like the other friends, Zophar thinks that Job is guilty of sin, and his suffering is a result of his transgression.
But I have a mind that is as well as yours. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know these things? Who?
However, their words have no insights or values to Job. Thus, Job becomes angry with them in chapter 13:4.
You smear me with lies. You are worthless physicians, all of you. If only you would all together be silent. That would be wisdom.
To Job, their words are not only unwise, but also untrue. In chapter 14, Job uses trees as an analogy to respond to them. We read about Job's analogy from verses 7 to 19.
At least there is hope for a tree. If it is cut down, it will sprout again. And its new shoots will not fail. Its roots may grow old within the ground, and the stump die in the soil. But yet at the scent of water, it will bud and put forth shoots like a plant. But man dies. He is laid low. He breathes his last. There is no more.
What Job wants to communicate here is that humans and trees are essentially different. When a human being dies, the life comes to an end, but when trees are cut down, as long as the roots remain, they can still grow back. Looking at this analogy, Job is saying to God that his life is finite, As Job anxiously awaits his response, he wants God to answer him without delay. This exchange closes the first cycle of dialogue between Job and his friends.
At Spring of Water International Ministries, we invite you to journey with us, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Isaiah 55:10. To find out more, follow Spring of Water International Ministries.